Have you ever noticed that the most important changes in your life happen when nobody's watching? No motivation, no accountability partner, no one cheering you on, just you and the quiet decision to be different. We live in a world that's terrified of being alone. We fill every silent moment with notifications, noise, people, anything to avoid sitting with ourselves. But here's the truth. Real transformation doesn't happen in groups. It happens in solitude. In those private moments when you choose growth over comfort and nobody's there to witness it. The person you're becoming is built in the hours you spend alone. Here are 5 things that when done alone will completely change your life. 1. Exercise without posting about it. Most people don't actually want to get fit. They want to be seen getting fit. They take gym selfies, post workout updates, share their progress for validation. But when you remove the audience, when you train in complete silence with no likes, no comments, no external motivation, something shifts. You're no longer doing it for applause. You're doing it because you're rebuilding your relationship with discipline. Every rep becomes a private promise you keep to yourself. Every morning you show up alone, you're teaching your brain that your word to yourself matters more than anyone else's opinion. The truth is, the strongest version of you is built when nobody's watching. When the dopamine hit comes from the work itself, not the announcement of the work, you become unstoppable. This isn't about fitness. It's about proving to yourself that you can commit to something without needing constant validation. And that quiet confidence changes everything. 2. Sit with your urges without distracting yourself. This is the one most people run from. The moment an uncomfortable feeling shows up, boredom, anxiety, loneliness, craving, we immediately reach for our phones, for food, for anything that makes it go away. But what if instead of escaping, you just sat there? What if you felt the urge to scroll and didn't? What if you noticed the craving for cheap dopamine and watched it like a wave, knowing it will pass? Most people are controlled by their urges because they've never learned to observe them without reacting. But when you can sit alone with discomfort, when you can feel the pull toward distraction, and consciously choose not to follow it, you take back control of your brain. This is where real freedom lives. Not in never having urges, but in no longer being enslaved by them. The first few times will feel unbearable. Your brain will scream for relief. But if you can sit through just 5 minutes of discomfort alone, you'll discover something powerful. You're stronger than your impulses. You're not your thoughts. You're the one observing them. And that realization changes how you move through life. 3. Learn something difficult with no one to impress. We've been conditioned to learn for grades, for job titles, for status. But when was the last time you learned something purely because it fascinated you? No certificate, no audience, no way to monetize it, just you and the challenge. Maybe it's a language, maybe it's philosophy, maybe it's understanding how your brain actually works. When you study alone, without external pressure, you're reconditioning your dopamine system. You're teaching your brain that effort itself is rewarding, not just the outcome. Most people quit learning the moment school ends because they only ever learned for approval. But people who learn alone, who struggle through difficult concepts with no one watching, they develop a completely different relationship with growth. They become internally motivated. They stop needing permission to be curious. And that curiosity becomes the engine for a life that never stops evolving. This is how you break free from dopamine dependency. You find meaning in the process, not just the result. 4. Spend entire days in silence. I don't mean meditation retreats or spiritual practices. I mean deliberately choosing a day where you don't consume anything. No podcasts, no music, no videos, no conversations unless absolutely necessary. Just you and your thoughts for an entire day. This terrifies most people because silence forces you to confront everything you've been avoiding. Your regrets show up, your fears get loud, your uncomfortable truths demand attention. But if you can survive a full day alone with yourself, if you can walk through your neighborhood, cook a meal, sit in a park, all without filling the silence, you'll discover something remarkable. You'll realize you're not as broken as you thought. You'll notice thoughts you've been suppressing. You'll hear the quiet voice that knows exactly what you need to do with your life. Silence is where clarity lives, but most people never find it because they're too afraid to stop the noise. One day of silence won't fix everything, but it will show you what you've been running from. And that awareness is the beginning of real change. 5. Make a decision and stick to it without asking for opinions. How many times have you known exactly what you needed to do, but asked 10 people for advice, hoping someone would give you permission? We overthink because we're terrified of being wrong, so we collect opinions, we poll our friends, we seek validation for decisions we've already made. But maturity is learning to trust yourself alone. It's making the hard call, the career change, the boundary, the life shift, and standing on it even when people question you. Not every decision needs a committee. Some things you just have to decide alone and live with the consequences. When you can make difficult choices in solitude without needing universal approval, you become unshakable. You stop living by consensus and start living by conviction. And that's when your life truly becomes yours. The truth is, the person you're becoming is built in private. Not in the moments people see, but in the quiet hours when you choose discipline over distraction, growth over comfort, truth over escape. These 5 things, done alone, won't make you famous, they won't get you likes, but they will make you free. And freedom is worth more than applause.